Good morning. Welcome to the UU community of Halifax. My name is Andrew Hollenbach, and I'm our service assistant for today. Tristan Kellaway is providing music for our singing today. Riley Friesen is providing the technical support so that those of us attending virtually can see, hear, and participate. We are an open-minded, open-hearted, spiritual community. Our mission is to provide a community that nurtures personal and spiritual growth, practices inclusiveness, celebrates diversity, and affirms individual and collective commitment to community service and social justice. We acknowledge that we are meeting here today on the shores of Jvuktu, here in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded land of the Mi'kmaq people, which includes the place we now also call Nova Scotia. Mi'kmaq have lived here for thousands of years, and we are thankful for the land, water, and all the living things that have been cared for all this time. Newcomers, now also called settlers, arrived a few hundred years ago, not long. At that time, treaties were signed promising that all the people here would live together in peace and friendship. Now we are all treaty people, trying to follow those promises. Our chalice lighting words today are by John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. Upon the hearth, the fire is red. Beneath the roof there is a bed, but not yet weary are our feet. Still round the corner we may meet a sudden tree or standing stone that none have seen but we alone. Tree and flower and leaf and grass, let them pass, let them pass. Hill and water under sky, pass them by, pass them by. Still round the corner there may wait a new road or a secret gate. And though we pass them by today, tomorrow we may come this way and take the hidden paths that run toward the moon or to the sun. Apple, thorn, and nut, and slow, let them go, let them go. Sand and stone and pool and dell, fare you well, fare you well. I am our chalice lighter for today. Which brings us to our opening hymn. Our opening hymn is Come Sing a Song With Me. It is number 346 in the gray hymnals, which are just over there. And the lyrics are going up on the screen, as you can see. Please rise in body or spirit, as willing and able to join us.
Song with me that I
thank you for the music. And thank all of you for the music. We now have time for our joys, sorrows, and complex truths. We bring our hearts into this sacred space of community and open them up to each other and for each other, so that those of us who carry pain might be comforted by the presence of a loving community, so that those of us who are happy might share their joy and see it multiply in others, and so that those of us who carry complex truths might find a welcoming space to process the meaning-making in our lives. This, at the end of the altar, is our communal well that holds all of our stories. The water in it can remind us of our connection to all of life and to the earth itself. If you have a joy, sorrow, or complex truth in your heart to speak into our community, we invite you to share and then to place a stone into the well. You might also place a stone in silence. If you are willing, please speak from near the well on this microphone so that those on Zoom can also see as well as hear. The microphone is ready. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy, and I would just like to thank Pam with the host for spending the past few days with me. We had a great, thanks to her driving, a great vacation to Prince Edward Island. And I got to see my nephew and his new wife before they moved away, and it was just truly wonderful. We shared lots of memories of places that we've lived and been in our childhood. It was terrific. Thank you, Pam.
Fun. I had fun.
There's a very big stone.
Yeah.
Any hands raised online to buy us some time for somebody else to get up the courage? Then I will also add, I suppose this one counts as a complex truth, but there's a fair amount of joy in it, that yesterday our 27-degree weather, given the humidity, was actually only 27 degrees. This was lovely. Though, as I mentioned to Riley earlier, down at the museum we had a family of tourists that were in from Bermuda who were talking about how hot it was, just like home. We had to let them know that they were lucky that they had missed earlier in the week, when it was apparently hotter than the folks from Bermuda would have considered like home. You know what? Oh, yes, excellent. Come on, I built the reflection based on assuming there'd be a few people for this.
So we'll consider this community service.
Yes.
I'm doing Andrew a favor. I mean, it does feel complex to certainly speak of, very vulnerable, but some of you know I had a reflection here months ago, but I became a father when I was very young, 18. My daughter's now 26. I'm a grandfather, believe it or not. And my daughter is, some of the legacy of who I couldn't be for her in her young life. Is a part of who she is in the world and how she struggles. But I'm really proud of her to see some of the changes she's finally making. And actually there is a kind of community part of this that she needs new housing. And so if by any chance, especially if we're on the darker side, if anyone has any leads, anyone knows of anything, then I'd be totally welcome to that. Thank you.
second week here, and thank you. I'm just very excited to be part of a new community. I saw you guys at the Pride Parade, and it really interests me, so thank you for the past couple weeks.
Then, okay, I give it a chance. Then I will place one more stone for all of the joys, sorrows, and complex truths that for now remain unspoken in the quiet of our hearts.
What comes next? Oh, yes. It is now time for our offering. The work of this community is made possible by donations of time and talent and money. Thank you for however you give. And we trust that you will give however much is right for you. Most who donate money do so by monthly e-transfer, and we also pass the basket. Today, the basket goes to the operating fund. Whatever your situation, thank you for being part of this community. Also, I personally donate more or less weekly by e-transfer. That also works quite well.
Yeah.
I then have the bolded note, wait until volunteers are done passing the baskets. And then our offertory hymn is Winds Be Still, number 83 in that gray hymnal. Again, as usual, the words are going up on the screen. Please rise in body or spirit. Next, I am supposed to introduce the person who is giving today's reflection for us. Our reflection today is being given by me. Hello. My name is Andrew. And I walk. I mean, as many of you might know already, I walk quite a bit. The folks at Quinpool Shoe Repair know me on sight. As some others of you may know, I read a lot. I and my best and closest friends are librarians. As a few of you might know, I walk and read a lot. While I am walking, it is my chance to read for me, after all. I mean, at work, I read a lot for others, but on my commute, walking under the trees, I read for myself. Well, over the past 11 months, I have joined 3 other people to measure our walking to match the 4 hobbits in the fellowship. And to help do so, we have each day read that day's pages of The Lord of the Rings, each of us following one character on their path through the books, and trying, often unsuccessfully, to keep pace. I mean, the hobbits and the rest of the fellowship do put in around 18 miles each day. But we have been walking the distance, and we have been reading their paths. And I have, this time, reading through the books, following Peregrine Took from day to day, noticed just how surprisingly essential to the quest have been the pauses, the rests, the songs, and small joys. At this point, I would like to offer any here who have never read any of these books the following. There will be spoilers. But you have at least a couple of paragraphs before we reach them. So if you pull out your copies of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings right now and read really quickly, you might be able to finish before we get there. Now, if you have not read John Ronald Reuel Tolkien's stories from his Middle-earth, if, for example, you have only watched one or some of the many movie versions of these stories, you might not be aware of just how often the Fellowship, following on their desperate quest to save their world in time from a selfish and greedy power before it is too late, stop to sing, to wonder, to rest, over and over again. Saving their world and themselves requires strength and determination and love and empathy and song and small joys. And without every one of those moments, those joys, those pauses, their quest would have failed. Just looking at singing alone, there are 61 different songs sung across these 4 books. Drinking songs, marching songs, songs about history, songs about enjoying the day, songs about the glory of a hot bath. Sing hey for the bath at the close of day that washes the weary mud away. A loon is he that will not sing. A water hot is a noble thing. Sweet is the sound of the falling rain, and the brook that leaps from hill to plain. But better than rain or rippling stream is water hot that smokes and steams. A water cold we may pour at need down a thirsty throat and be glad indeed. But better is beer if drink we lack, and water hot poured down the back. A water is fair that leaps on high in a fountain white beneath the sky. But never did fountain sound so sweet as splashing hot water with my feet. Now Tolkien, is not alone in recognizing the disproportionate value of small joys. This spring and summer, right here, in this building, many of us have heard each week of others who do the same. Philosophers, theologians, psychologists, therapists, we have heard over and over and over again of the value of daily small moments of everyday awe, of joy, and of rest. In May, we heard about forest bathing, of the innate mental, neurological, neurochemical, emotional, and even moral benefits to humans of spending time among trees and growing things. We have taken two, or more, who knows, I wrote this in the past way back in June, walks through Point Pleasant Park together to listen and smell and feel the forest around us, even here, in the midst of a city. Tolkien was a big fan of trees. We heard about the book Awe, The New Science of Everyday Wonder, by Dasher Keltner, PhD of Psychology at Berkeley, a book explaining his research into the brain chemistry of those pauses for joy and connection and wonder. We heard in June about the value of retreat, in this case of a meditative retreat, to stop, to listen, to watch, to feel, to learn. Last week we explored the joy of communal singing, also much written of by Dasher Keltner. The Hobbit begins in sedentary comfort and very quickly gives us the impression that it is going to be a story of giving up joys and comforts and rests, to follow the hero's journey into the depths of hardship and peril and travail, as if it were the Odyssey, fighting to survive every step of the way until finally victory through overcoming that adversity and being the better for it. But the heroes in it stop every chance they get to sing and to eat well and to admire beauty with awe. In The Hobbit, our party of dwarves and wizard and hobbit pause to rest for at least 2 weeks at the last homely house in Rivendell, and then again for several days, eating honey cakes and resting in comfort at Bjorn's house. And then again they rest for 2 full weeks at Lake Town in the very shadow of the mountain that is their penultimate goal. Penultimate, because truly the dragon's doom is the prize they seek. And then during the climactic battle that caps the entire adventure, our main character, Bilbo Baggins, is unconscious. And so he, and thus we, misses the whole thing, only waking again after it is over. And then, in The Lord of the Rings, our hobbits, our ring-bearer, tasked with the great and urgent quest on which the freedom of the world depends, with undead huntsmen serving the selfish and powerful Dark Lord Sauron, hunting him endlessly, stop over and over again for respite. In fact, that is one of the first things our 4 travelers, Frodo Baggins, Pippin Took, Merry Brandybuck, and Sam Gamgee, having left the 5th conspirator, Fred Bolger, to prevent pursuit, the first thing they do after leaving the presumed safety of the Shire and journeying into the dark and dangerous old forest, they rest. They rest first thing out of the gate. And they do so with perhaps the very embodiment of daily joy and awe and song and respite. They stay at the home of Tom Bombadil and Goldberry, and they stay for days. Tom Bombadil is a mystery, a wonder in himself. He is song, he is respite, he is joy, he is awe. Those who come to his door are safe, are welcomed, are hosted. I see yellow cream and honeycomb and white bread and butter, milk, cheese and green herbs and ripe berries gathered. Is that enough for us? Is the supper ready? It is, said Goldberry. But the guests perhaps are not? Tom clapped his hands and cried, Tom, Tom, your guests are tired and you had near forgotten. Come now, my merry friends, and Tom will refresh you. You shall clean grimy hands and wash weary faces, cast off your muddy cloaks and comb out your tangles. And he opened the door, and they followed him down a short passage and round a sharp turn, and they came to a low room with a sloping roof, and its walls were of clean stone, but they were mostly covered with green hanging mats and yellow curtains. And the floor was flagged, but strewn with fresh green rushes. And there were 4 deep mattresses, each piled with white blankets, laid on the floor along one side. And against the opposite wall was a long bench laden with wide earthenware basins, and beside it stood brown ewers filled with water, some cold, some steaming hot. And there were soft green slippers set ready beside each bed. Everywhere Tom Bombadil looks, his eye sees wonder and whimsy, even when he sees the malignant and powerful One Ring, crafted by that dark Lord Sauron to possess and control all the world. Bombadil plays parlor magic tricks with it, laughing, tossing it into the air and seeming to make it vanish, but then revealing it palmed in his other hand and laughing again, and then returning it to the ring-bearer, who feels its ponderous weight. But that whimsy, that laughter, that joy helps to lift the spirits of those questing hobbits, giving them the strength to continue and to succeed. Over and over again, the fellowship continues despite threat, despite loss, despite setback, despite anxiety, despite terror, but also, over and over again, they choose to not push themselves beyond their limits. After days of walking and sneaking and fighting and tracking, they always take the time for respite, for wonder and joys and songs. Food and song and sleep are not some luxury, but are essential for the recovery of health and spirit. Even in the darkest of moments, perhaps especially in the darkest of moments. When the books are at their most grim, it is wonder and small joys and remembered rest that save the day. When all seems lost and Frodo Baggins is struck down by the mother of all spiders and his body is carried away, and Samwise Gamgee picks up the ring and becomes the ring-bearer, the ring tempts him as it has every day done to Frodo. It gives to Sam the thought of Samwise the Strong, hero of the age, striding across the land, righting wrongs by sword and fire with an army behind him. But the one small garden of a free gardener was all his need and due, not a garden swollen to a realm. His own hands to use, not the hands of others to command. It is Samwise Gamgee's experience of, understanding of, and value of small joys that guard him against the influence of the ring, against selfishness and greed. When all seems lost and Frodo has now been captured by orcs, this is a running theme, and Samwise is searching unsuccessfully amongst death and corpses and fear to try to rescue him from the tower where they took him. At last, weary and feeling finally defeated, he sat on a step below the level of the passage floor and bowed his head into his hands. It was quiet, horribly quiet. The torch, that was already burning low when he'd arrived, sputtered and went out. And he felt the darkness cover him like a tide. And then softly, to his own surprise, there, at the vain end of his long journey and his grief, moved by what thought in his heart he could not tell, Sam began to sing. His voice sounded thin and quavering in the cold, dark tower, but he sang nonetheless, and then a faint voice answered him. It was Frodo, beaten, exhausted, broken, and imprisoned, but unable to resist, even when weak and despairing, joining in with the simple pleasure of a shared song. And that is how Sam was able to find him. Over and over again, Tolkien reminds us that rest gives time for respite and recovery, gives time for singing and small joys, gives time for wonder and awe, and gives time for empathy. It is during rests around the campfire each evening, as Frodo and Samwise and the turncoat villain Gollum seek to find a way unseen by Sauron into Mordor, where the ring can be destroyed, that Frodo finds mercy for Gollum, even if not the Gollum that is, but the Gollum that once was. And it is only this mercy for Gollum that allows, at the very end of their quest to destroy the ring, Gollum to be the fulcrum on which success in the end hangs. You really should read it. And even with the destruction of the ring and the ruin of Sauron, their work is not finished. Nor is the need for small joys and small wonders and small rests. After taking time to recover, respite and celebration, the poor hobbits return home to find a shire where that long arm of greed and selfishness and spite has taken hold, and which too needs liberating. While they have been away seeking to stop a huge evil, a smaller evil has clutched their home. For a year it grew, and Fred Bulger worked unseen by us readers to stop it, leading the resistance against the invasion by Sharky's men, but eventually even Bulger was captured and imprisoned. Sharky has one by one shuttered and outlawed the daily moments of joy that the hobbits of the Shire might take for granted, closing pubs, outlawing gatherings, confiscating luxuries, limiting travel, felling trees, uprooting gardens, wider roads, uglier buildings, less public spaces, less joy. And the four returned questing hobbits remind all the rest of the hobbits in the Shire of those nearly forgotten joys and pleasures now denied, and convince them to rise up together. For a shared burden is more easily carried, just as a shared joy is magnified, and together they overthrow the tyrant Sharky and his men. Now for us, today, I would like us to remember how essential are those moments of respite, of everyday awe, of small joys. To eat and drink and sleep in company, to share songs, to remember stories to each other. For those looking to slow down a little and pause into some hobbit living, I will recommend the free pamphlet, 30 Days in the Shire, by Caitlin of Tea with Tolkien. It is a free workbook, easily findable with a search online, or I can connect you with the link when asked. It's https://www.teawithtolkien.com/shop/30, the number days. Easy. And to that end, I will close us out by starting at the beginning. In a hole in the ground, there lived a hobbit. Not a nasty, dirty, wet hole filled with the ends of worms and an oozy smell, nor yet a dry, bare, sandy hole with nothing in it to sit down on or to eat. It was a hobbit hole, and that means comfort. we have already reached our closing hymn. I think we are too early for our closing hymn. But instead, just before we get there, when I first wrote this, as a couple of folks here can vouch, I was under the mistaken impression that reflections were to last half an hour. And then I trimmed it down to 15 minutes under encouragement. I have just a quick couple of excerpts, shall we say, that were cut for time and notes. And so I will quickly add those as an appendix, because an appendix is very traditional for anybody who's reading any Tolkien, right? Right? Okay. The following were cut for time and or our notes. So, relatedly, in May and June, speaking of other people also exploring the need for rest, during my walks in May, I was reading Spider Robertson's story Time Pressure, which is set here in Nova Scotia at the North Mountain Commune, where he lived, while occasionally coming into Halifax for things like the original HalCon science fiction conventions. And that, too, is about community and hope, and how making change for the future requires joy and trust and rest in the now. And after those, during my walks, I read again Becky Chambers' excellent science fiction stories, A Psalm for the Wild-Built, and A Prayer for the Crown-Shy, which are about the vital importance of pauses, and of those pauses allowing for a change of perspective, and of small joys and comforts being essential to any greater quest or grand events that affect the lives of those around you. And of course, I read more Tolkien. Speaking of Tolkien, there are a long list of when things are at their darkest and all seems lost. Usually because Frodo has fallen again. So when all seems lost, and Samwise and Frodo cannot tell night from day in the dark and terrible mountains of Mordor, exhausted, fearing they are already too late, they collapse in hopes of sleep. And Samwise finds, even there, a moment of small and everyday awe. There, peeping among the cloud rack above a dark tor high up in the mountains, Sam saw a bright star twinkle for a while. The beauty of it smote his heart as he looked up out of the forsaken land, and hope returned to him. For like a shaft clear and cold, the thought pierced him that in the end, the shadow was only a small and passing thing. There is a brief discussion near the end, close to that point. I wonder if we shall ever be put into songs or tales. I mean, we're in one, of course, which is somewhat sort of postmodern meta-narrative of Tolkien back in the 1930s. We're in one, of course, but I mean, put into words, you know, and told by the fireside or read out of a great big book with red and black letters years and years afterwards. And people will say, oh, let's hear about Frodo and the Ring. And they will say, oh, yes, that's one of my favorite stories. Frodo was very brave, wasn't he, Dad? Yes, my boy, the famousest of the hobbits, and that's saying a lot. And while Frodo never fully heals from the trauma of carrying that ring, what he is gifted, in the end, by those who can gift it, is rest. Off, sailing into the undying lands of Faerie, the place of the elves, to rest. The world is indeed full of peril, and in it there are many dark places, but still there is much that is fair. And though in all lands love is now mingled with grief, it grows perhaps the greater. I think I've bought us through enough time to finally reach our closing hymn. the closing hymn will be This Is My Song, which is also out of the Grey Hymnal, number 159. Once again, please rise in body or spirit as you are comfortable and able, and the words are already going up on the screen. Our closing words will bring us back to our beginning here, circling around to where we began today with more words by John Ronald Reuel Tolkien. Home is behind, the world ahead, and there are many paths to tread through shadows to the edge of night until the stars are all of light. The world behind and home ahead will wander back to home and bed, mist and twilight, cloud and shade. Away shall fade, away shall fade. Fire and lamp and meat and bread, and now to bed, and now to bed. I now extinguish our chalice with these words. May we carry in our hearts the glow of love, the light of truth, the fire of commitment, and the power of transformation. Andrew will now extinguish the chalice. Read announcements from the order of service. We do have several. Food for Thought and Action is on Tuesday, August 18th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. On the topic of food security. There is blueberry picking and potluck on Monday, August 24th at 11 in the morning at the Wilsons and Woolivers home near Windsor. Please répondez s'il vous plaît doesn't work. Répondez s'il vous plaît, RSVP, to Marilyn at an email address that is in the order of service. Carpool drivers and carpool passengers are especially wanted. As Reverend Norm has asked me to especially mention, the annual Universalist reunion service will be held in the historic Seaman Church in Minooty, Nova Scotia, on Sunday the 6th of September. If you are thinking of attending, and especially if you like to sing, a small choir is being organized drawn from supporters in the Halifax and Benudi areas. If you would like to participate by helping as the choir to lead the congregation in singing 2 hymns during that service, please contact Reverend Norm by cell phone or by email or in person. Though I would note his email is also in the order of service. I'm to mention that Ben is still on study leave until August 23rd, but you can contact admin@uuch.ca for any emergencies, and Andrea that will then in turn contact Ben. That's all of the announcements. We now have coffee in the social hall. Our service is over. Thank you, and go in peace.